Welcome back to Cindy's Library. I am Cindy, and today, oh, I finally did it. I finally reread all of Jane Austen's major works within about the past 2 years. So not too bad if I do say so myself. Greatly enjoyed it. So now that I have reread all of these, the question then becomes, how am I going to rank them? First of all, that is an impossible task. I mean, I love all of these books. How does one rank all of the stars in the sky as your favorite? It's impossible, really. But we do need to put them in some sort of order. So, my criteria is going to be, well, it's going to have several dimensions to it. One dimension is going to be how much I enjoyed it. Another dimension is going to be how much do I like the hero and the heroine. And then if it comes down to that, then we will put down how good of a book it is as in quality. So, looking at all of these, I am probably sadly going to have to put Northanger Abbey at the bottom. I know. I didn't used to really like Northanger Abbey, but then I saw the BBC adaptation and I got it finally. And now I have a soft spot for Catherine Morland and Mr. Tilney. But as much as I like them, I can't say either of them are at the top of my list for either the hero or the heroine. Nor can I say that, well, Northanger Abbey is surprisingly deep in some ways. I mean, it's mocking the Gothic novel, basically. And it's hilarious. But no, it is Jane Austen's first work that we have that was officially published. I mean, it was published years later, but you can tell it is an early work. So, yeah, I'm just gonna have to put Northanger Abbey on the bottom, I'm afraid. Let's see, next. Yeah, I am going to have to put down Emma for the next one. It took me a while to get into this, I'm afraid, this last reading at least. And, well, Mr. Knightley is one of the best gentlemen Jane Austen ever created. And I cannot deny that Emma is fully rounded and interesting. And I do think she does grow and change from what she starts as, which, as far as I am concerned, is all to the good, since I think it's all in a positive direction. Emma is still probably my least favorite Jane Austen heroine. So between all of that, I'm afraid I probably have to put Emma next on my list. I'm sorry, Emma. I'm sorry, Mr. Knightley. Now it's starting to get harder. Probably going to have to put, though, Sense and Sensibility. I have a real soft spot for this book. I love Marianne and I love Eleanor even more. Perhaps, well, I'm like Eleanor. We also spend most of the book from mostly Eleanor's viewpoint, too. So it's easier to connect with her in that way. And I love what this book says about sisterly relationships and about sense and sensibility, and how in the end it really isn't so easy as dividing them up. We all need a bit of both in our lives. And I do have a soft spot also for Colonel Brandon, although that's as much from Alan Rickman's portrayal of him in the, what was it, 1995 movie version? Anyway, uh, in the book, I mean, he is interesting. I can't say that he is the strongest, though, of Jane Austen's heroes. And as for Edward Ferrars, there is more to him than one might at first think. But he is so quiet and we spend so little time with him, it doesn't really have a chance to work its magic very much. The romance in this is one of the weaker ones. To be fair, I don't think that is what Jane Austen was going for with this book primarily. But even so, yeah, probably have to put Sense and Sensibility next. This just keeps getting harder and harder. Oh, probably going to have to put Persuasion next. I love Anne Elliot, and I love to internally yell at her ridiculous family. And I love Captain Wentworth's letter there at the end. If you know, you know. But this is a shorter work. We don't really have as much room to work with here. I think if Jane Austen had lived, she may have fleshed other characters besides Anne out. Aside from the letter, Captain Wentworth is a bit of an enigma, so this is also the most, this work has been called autumnal mature. Anne Elliot is not a young girl in the fresh bloom of life. She has lived, she's almost to official spinsterhood, with everything given up. She's had disappointment, none of which I count against it. I actually love this book for that reason. But yeah, probably have to put Persuasion next. That leads me with Mansfield Park next. Absolutely love Mansfield Park. And some people complain about Fanny Price being too passive, but we spend the whole book from Fanny Price's perspective. And if she is quiet externally, and why should she not be? After all, who, aside from Edward, listens to her in the Bertram family, really. She has such a rich internal life. All of the characters, we have plenty of room to draw them fully out, good and bad. Mary and Henry Crawford are very interesting and complex. Edmund, even he is complex. You can see him as a young man who is infatuated and is having trouble getting past that. And as for the ending, I personally like the ending because it makes Fanny happy and it makes sense based on how fairy tale this one is out of all of Jane Austen's books. The princess will end up with the true prince in the end, not with the false prince. And however complex Henry Crawford may be, I am not convinced that him marrying Fanny would have really changed him fundamentally. And as complex as he is, it doesn't stop him from being the false prince. So I just love Fanny. And then the last one, guess no one's really surprised. Pride and Prejudice. I love Lizzie. I love Mr. Darcy. They're such real complex, wonderful characters with flaws. I love the tone. Uh, Jane Austen said this may be her most sparkly and bright book, and I love that. And it has such a great cast of supporting characters everywhere, from the rest of the Bennet family, Mr. Bingley's sisters, Mr. Colin, Lady Catherine de Bourgh, of course, Wickham. I just love Pride and Prejudice. It's hard to get better than this when it comes to Jane Austen. So that is where my ranking is today. It could change tomorrow. A lot of these are really close. So, love to hear from you down below what your ranking currently is and why your favorite Jane Austen is your favorite Jane Austen. Thank you so much for stopping by. I truly do appreciate it. So, until next time, I hope we all stay safe and healthy. And as always, happy reading.